So we say price effect has two components. The first one is substitution effect. The other one is income effect. And so last time we do one case that when price of X goes down, and this time I'm going to try when price X goes up. So the direction is different, but the approach is the same. So let us say this is the original budget line, okay? And price goes up, okay? Price goes up. So how does the budget line move? 谢信佑. When price goes up, how will this budget line move? Price goes up. Price goes up. Parallel out, parallel in, or flatter out, steeper in. Which one? Excuse me? Steeper in, okay? Because when price goes up, the fuel X you can buy, right? You can buy fuel, okay? So here, okay, and let us say we have intersection here, IC1, and here intersection IC2. So here is point 1 and here is point 2. Okay, so substitution effect. The price has to be different, okay? For substitution effect, you want to look at substitution effect, price has to change, but income remains the same. And we stick to Hicks' idea. Hicks' idea of the same income is at the same satisfaction level. So that is at the same indifference curve. So we want to compare point 1, right? We want to compare point 1. And this is the old price, and this is the new price. Okay, so we have to find a point that is at the same income level with 1. Okay? And so here is the indifference curve. But the price has to be different. So we have to draw a new budget line that is parallel to the new one, okay, but tangent to the indifference curve 1. Okay, so here is the new budget line, and we get this point 3, okay? So let us dissect substitution effect. So point 1 and point 3, they are at the same indifference curve. So they are at the same satisfaction level. So they are at the same income level. So point 1 to point 2, as you can see, original price is lower and the new price is higher. So 1 to 3 is substitution effect. And 3 to 2, okay, is income effect. Why? Because the price level is the same, right? The price level is the same, but income is different. Here you get higher income, here you get lower income. So the case here is different because when we have a price lower down, right? The price goes down, it means you get more income. Because to buy the same goods, you still have some income left. And for this case, it's different because income goes up. So, sorry, the price goes up. The price goes up sounds like you have less income in your pocket. Okay? So the direction is different, but the effect is the same. Because now the price goes up. So substitution effect, you switch to something that is cheaper. So you buy less of the expensive good. And then from 3 to 2, because of the price increase, your income goes down, right? So of course you buy less. So when your income goes up, you buy more. That's called normal goods. And the same thing, when your income goes down, you buy less. That's also normal goods. Okay? Okay, questions? So you want to do some exercise on your own. Okay, let's turn to the textbook, chapter 3. Because we don't have that much time, some of the topics may be a little bit tedious, so we won't have enough time to cover them all. But we'll discuss some of the cases. So let's look at theory of consumer behavior. Okay, so here, this is something we haven't discussed in class, preferences. Basically, when we talk about preferences, we assume people can compare consumption bundles, okay? It is not something that you can really tell exactly how much you are better than the others. So, for example, in the 19th centuries, a lot of people, when they talk about utility satisfaction level, they are very excited because they see there's a way to compare across person, but really that's not the case. So there's a saying called one person's meat is another's poison. So that means comparing utilities across people is really doesn't make sense. And so there's a term called UTOL or UT or whatever it is that consider as the units of your satisfaction. But you know, for example, if you drink coffee, so are you a coffee drinker? No? John? No? I don't drink coffee, I don't drink tea because there's caffeine. And if I drink too much, well, there will be sleepless night for me. But some people really like coffee. Without coffee, there's no energy, right? So, and the other thing is that when you drink 1 cup of coffee, 2 cups, 3 cups, 4 cups, you know, sorry, can you compare all the utilities across these cups? It doesn't work, okay? So because of that, you know, when we talk about producer, you know, it is the units of production, whatever it is, factors of production or units of labor, you can compare it, okay? And there's a way to count it, and or you know, enlarge it, magnify it. But for the consumer, we assume you can compare. That's it. Oh, okay. So completeness means the first one, completeness. Completeness means for bundles A and B, okay, there's a relationship. It is A greater than, equal to, or less than B. So basically, these relationship has to hold, just like math, okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these numbers can be compared, and consumption bundle, that's the same thing. The second part, transitivity. Transitivity means that if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, if this is the case, even though we do not compare, we have no direct revelation about the relationship between A and C, but because of this transitivity, we know that A will be greater than C. Okay? Basically, this is the second one. Mean. But you want to remember that this kind of relationship does not necessarily hold for all relationships. So for example, A is the father of B. Okay, A is the father of B. B is the father of C. Right? But what is the relationship between A and C? It's not father again, right? It's grandfather. Okay? So this kind of relationship does not necessarily hold for all relationships. But for satisfaction level, it does. Okay? And number 3, non-satiation and convexity, it doesn't matter as much. Okay? So basically, it means, as we have shown, indifference curve will look like this. Okay? And as a matter of fact, it is quite complicated. So, you know, basically you assume that's the case. Okay? It takes mathematics and other intuition to know that convexity works here. Okay? So it said, you know, indifference curve. can have several shapes like this, but this kind of indifference curve really does not hold, okay? Because there's some problem with it. Since we don't have enough time to elaborate all these, we will forget about this part. So this is abnormal, okay? Basically, that's the abnormal things. Okay, so forget about it. And so we talk about this. Figure 3.3. It said indifference curve cannot cross, right? We talked about it before. Even though indifference curve cannot cross, but we know that indifference curve can show people's preference. Okay, let us say okay, so let us say this is coffee. Okay, coffee, and here it is tea. And let's say this is person A and this is person B. Okay? So, hold on. Zheng Yilin, which one prefers coffee to tea? Which one loves coffee more? A or B? Excuse me? A, as I have told you several times, look at the budget line. If the budget line is steeper, the price of the horizontal X goods is more expensive. And indifference curve shows your preference, shows your satisfaction. Okay? If it is steeper, means it is higher in your mind. The satisfaction is more. So person A prefers coffee to tea, and person B prefers tea to coffee, right? Again, if you want to know why, it's very simple. So let us say, to get one extra unit of coffee, right? So for person B, he's only willing to sacrifice this much of tea, right? But for person A, he's willing to sacrifice this much of tea. So who is willing to pay a higher price? A, right? So A prefers coffee to tea. Okay? Okay, let's move on. So, marginal rate of substitution. Okay, so what's that? It is dx, dy, mu, x, MUY, okay? And when we talk about producer, there will be marginal, so this is called MRS, marginal rate of substitution. When we talk about producer, the model is the same, okay? But the term is different, MRTS, marginal rate of technical substitution. And that will be marginal product of X and marginal product of Y, okay? So basically, what we are elaborating here on consumers is the same thing with the producer, even though part of reasoning can be a little bit different. Okay? And we have diminishing rate, marginal rate of substitution. It is another name for diminishing marginal of utility. So when you consume more X, right? When you consume more X, the value, the marginal utility of X goes down. So you have that. Okay? The same thing, when you use a certain production, factor of production, so let us say labor or capital, whatever it is, if you use more of it, the marginal product will go down. Okay? So the marginal utility is diminishing as you consume more. And the marginal product of a certain factor of production is also decreasing because as you use that more, the marginal product is going to go down. And on the opposite side, when marginal product goes down, marginal cost goes up. Okay? Okay, let's talk about convexity. Okay, talk about convexity. Usually, there is a way to explain it. Okay, so let us try. So when we have x and y, and it looks like this, and let us say we have something like here. Okay, so you have A, B, and here C. Okay, so generally you can treat A and B as two extremes. Okay, as two extremes. And so there's a rule called golden mean. Golden mean. Okay, golden mean. Can anyone tell me what's golden mean? Two words in Mandarin. 中国超. Golden mean. Excuse me? There is a rule called golden mean. Golden, what's golden? Yes, mean, what's mean? A little bit, but, well, anyway, let me put that down. As I say, people prefer to follow the golden mean rather than extremes. So A and B can be two extremes, okay? But then when you move to something, a combination of both A and B, you feel better, okay? You feel better. So because of that, it is much easier to use it in terms of production. You know, sometimes you use all labor, and sometimes you use all capital, okay? At that point, as a matter of fact, you combine a little bit labor, a little bit capital, you can be producing goods more efficiently, okay? And that's generally the same thing. So for example, for all day you drink coffee, or only tea, okay? Basically, you can feel bored very quickly. But suppose a little bit coffee, a little tea, or a little bit other drinks, you're probably going to feel better, okay? So that's the way we deal with the convexity. So that means if you are middle here, actually you can do something, your satisfaction level will be much better than something here, okay? Okay, let's move on. We haven't talked about this in our class, so we will briefly introduce it. So perfect substitute, okay? Can anyone give me some examples of perfect substitute? Zhang Ziwei, can you give us some examples of perfect substitutes? What's a substitute? Beef or pork, right? That's a substitute. Now we want to have perfect substitute. What's this? Blue pen and black pen, right? Are they perfect substitute? No. As long as you don't have any preference of color, right? Blue pen and black pen all works, right? And so they are perfect substitute. And the substitute, so we talk about MRS, right? MRS. That will be equal to 1, right? 1 black pen, 1 blue pen, right? What else? So for example, we have big pizza and small pizza, right? If you order pizza, you know there's a big one and small one, okay? So if the big one, okay, so the big one is equal to small one, suppose. So what would be the substitution rate between them? 2, right? Okay? So these are examples of perfect substitute. And sometimes, so let me tell you this, okay? Probably you have bottled water, right? Bottled water, okay? How much is this one? Probably $20, right? NT, 20 NT. But what about the big one? Usually the big one in terms of unit price. So for example, dollar per cc, right? Okay. Actually, you buy the big one, that is cheaper in terms of per unit. Okay. But why people still buy this kind of small one? So let us say I have a DVD and a CD. Okay. DVD-Rom and CD-ROM. Any question about this? Anyone? So, Rofa, do you know what's DVD-ROM? DVD-ROM? It is a disk that can store data, right? And CD-ROM. CD-ROM usually can store, a music, okay, something like 80 minutes. But a DVD can store data or music for video, generally video, is like 2 hours, 4 hours, right? So which one is cheaper? The CD-ROM is cheaper, right? Okay? But, sometimes if you want to buy something that can accommodate more per unit, right? Per unit, that would be, the choice would be DVD. So for drinks, okay, I think I can guess about the price. So for Coke, what is the price of a can of Coke? $30? Okay, but what about a bottle one, a big one? Probably $45, right? But generally, people still buy the small one rather than the big one. In terms of per unit, okay, per unit, this one is more expensive. But in terms of, the volume, okay, you buy it, this one is actually much cheaper, right? In terms of per unit. So for example, this one, the price is 1.5 times, right? The price, but this one can be, 1,250 cc, and this one probably just 330 cc, right? So in terms of per unit, this one is more expensive, right? In terms of per unit you buy, this one is much cheaper. But why sometimes you buy this rather than this? Because this one is more convenient. You can put in your pocket. What about this one? It's big. It's very hard to carry away. So we talk about perfect substitute. So even though these two drinks, one is a small can, the other is a big bottle, right? Even though in terms of perfect substitute, a rational person should buy this one rather than that one, okay? But what happened is that convenient, there's a price. Okay, there's a price for convenience. So small ones is more expensive per unit, but it is convenient. You can carry it away, carry around. But what about this one? It's different. Okay. So sometimes when we talk about perfect substitute, there's a marketing issue there. Okay. Okay. The second one, perfect complements. Zheng Hongxi, can you tell us example of perfect complements? Zheng Hongxi, raise your hand. Okay. Can you give us example about perfect complements? Winter is coming, right? If you want to go to Yushan, right, for some fun, what do you need for your hands? Yes. So left hand one and right hand one. So perfect complements. And some people, when they drink coffee, they need to have milk, sugar, right? So that's also part of the complements there. And neutral goods means that the goods that you are talking about has no relationship. Okay, so for example, pen and gasoline, right? No relationship there. Economic bet. Okay, so economic bet, what does that mean? So we always talk about goods, right? goods brings you satisfaction, okay? Brings you utility. What about bad? Can anyone give me example of bad? Okay, usually at my home, around 9 o'clock, I have to dump trash. So what's a trash? Trash is bad. The textbook talk about bad in terms of you have to make some efforts, okay, to get rid of it. Means, generally we pay for something that give us utility, okay? But for trash, you have to pay someone to get rid of it, okay? But the idea is basically the same. Okay, let's move on. Okay, so what's this? This is called dimes and nickel. So, Wang Xiuhui, what's dimes? Dimes. Here, what's dimes? Suizhou, what's dime? No idea? Really? What's dime? Yan Xiang, what's dime? What's nickel? Sorry, where is it? Nickel. Nickel is 5 cents. A coin of 5 cents. And dimes is a coin of 10 cents. So, right? So, if you have a dime, how many nickels you can get? You can get 2, right? So, this is also an example of perfect substitute. And here, right shoes and left shoes, right? Unless you are handicapped, you only have 1 leg, right? Or otherwise, right shoes, left shoes, and right glove, left gloves, okay? And this is called neutral, okay, or neutral goods, because champagne and red wine. Sometimes it is kind of difficult to say this, because okay, 水酒, what's this in Mandarin? Beer. Right. And wine? Red wine. So in Taiwan, we call this, as a matter of fact, a wine, right? But in the US, beer is no wine. So anyway, but it's alcoholic. It's alcoholic drinks, anyway. But they don't treat it as wine, okay? They treat it as some, usual drink. So when we had party, when I was a PhD student at school, when faculty members and students have party, they drink beer. And it's allowed on campus. But if you drink wine, it's a different story. So this is probably a little bit strange to us. It says champagne and red wine is different, okay? And here, alcohol and garbage. So garbage is something bad, right? The more you have, the less of, the worse off you are, right? The more you have, the worse off you are. So the satisfaction direction is to the left-hand side, okay? Okay, utility function. This is one example. We will forget about it here. Okay, so basically that's unit of x, unit of y, and whatever satisfaction level there is. Okay, so here is MUX, MUY, we save it, right? DU, DX, DU, sorry, it should be y, right? Okay, it should be y. And because we have 2 variables, so this is partial, okay? Partial differentiation. Okay, and let's briefly discuss this, okay? It said airlines travel, okay, before 9/11 event, right? September 11, 2001, okay? So can anyone tell me what happens here? So this is before. before 9/11, okay, the